Hey, welcome to another video on Dandy TCG, and today I wanted to cover a deck from Shadowverse in the Omen of the 10 mini rotation format. And of course, if you're familiar with Shadowverse, this is Ramp Dragon. I actually wanted to cover this since Brigade of the Skies. Um, love Zooey. Yeah, so I wanted to play her ever since I heard she was coming out. She's had her ups and downs on this whole deck in particular, but once the Omen came out, Gal plus the whole I like to call it like patron package, kind of give the deck a breath of fresh life. And now with the mini expansion, kind of on the low again, but still fun to play. So just want to take a look at it. If you could glance quickly, you might notice that there's no mini expansion cards in it. I'm pretty much just waiting to see how the meta will pan out. Although I'll show a couple of the new cards that you might consider in like different variants, or you want to sub out some cards. So go over that later on in the deck profile. But so far I'm gonna go over the aim of the deck, some of the combo cards, some of the cards, all the cards in general, the card selection, the combos, a couple mulligan decisions, or not really mulligan decisions, some matchup thoughts, and some of those cards you might want to sub out or sub in, and some little variants in the deck. So without further ado, so of course, like any ramp deck in any card game, you want to get ahead of the resource curve. In this case, it'd be your play points, and then you want to reach your top end quickly, and to have a huge board with huge followers that your opponent can't really answer because they are not up to speed with the types of removal or followers that could dish out at their current play points. So some of the cards in the deck, of course, in your ramp deck, you want to have your ramp cards. Ayala Dragon Sword, of course, staple in pretty much any dragon deck. The ability to evo and give a play point helps dragon overall a lot. Dragon Oracle, another staple, again gives you that easy, like short and sweet in the text. It gives you ramp, and if you have overflow at 7 play points or more, it replaces itself. Also for ramp, you got one copy of Dragon Cleaver Roy with the Dragon Life Blade choice, another simple ramp spell. And then if you want to go into the package that came out with Omen of the 10, it's like the Gamu, Omen of Disdain plus her Disdain, cards. So a couple cards that would enable Gamu, which is, so if she takes damage, first when you play her at a hand 7, she pings the whole field for 1, including herself. And then if she damaged at all, you could evo her. And then once she's evolved, if she takes any damage and she's not destroyed, deal 3 to a random enemy follower, and then also 3 to the face on the enemy leader. So the ways you could turn that on are with these two cards over here. You got Disciple of Disdain, where he comes into play and you can deal 1 damage to another allied follower and draw a card. So you get a ton of value off of a Disciple of Disdain plus Galmu. Also, you have Disdainful Rendering, or Disdainful Rending. Deal 1 damage to an allied follower, then 3 damage to an enemy follower. Again, less sweet little removal. Combo with Galmu, you get 2 shots at the field. But she's not the only one that would benefit from the self ping. There's also the new card Servant of Disdain, where if he takes damage and is not destroyed, you can draw a card. So you can draw 2 cards with the Servant plus Disciple combo. And also Serpent Drake. Not only does it have some value playing late game, where you could have just a bigger body on the field. If it's damaged at the beginning of your opponent's turn, you can summon another one. So if your opponent can't really handle one or two, they'll get out of control very fast. Especially if you can't combo with Gal. And then some filler cards to get you along the way to your top end would be Pure Hearted Singer. Always great to have in these sword decks, just like on filler, like cantrip, draw some cards, you know. Decent body too. And also Phylene, another godsend to Dragon in past year. Enables you to kind of maintain little crowd control against a board of like weenies of like X1s. Also could take care of like the huge fallers later on with White Frost Whisper. And then of course the whole reason you want to play this deck, in addition to Galmu as the top end finisher, is these guys over here. So we have Poseidon. Not only can this deck go tall, but it can also go wide. Having a 1/3 ward in this format is pretty good against all those decks with like 1/1s and 2/2s. Make it a little awkward to trade into some wards. It's also nice to have a 5/7 body hiding behind those two to evo him into a 7/9 buff god. Also, Frenzy Drake, one of those cards that keeps you in the game if you can survive up to 9 play points and you just want to reset the field. Just drop a Drake. Also punishes decks or players that might overextend by going all in on the board, trying to beat you to before you could reach your other finishers. It can also again evolve into 9/9, pretty scary. Then the last couple cards to finish out the deck: Ozzy the Haka, big Ozzy, just a simple storm, like 6/8, 6 to the face, 8 to the face on Evo. Also pretty handy sub effect where like every time you Evo, you can subtract 1 from the cost of this card if it's in your hand. So pretty cool to make some nifty plays and make it cheap if you got kind of stuck with it in your opening hand. And of course Zooey, the whole reason I wanted to even play the deck. So she starts out as a 1 play point accelerate. That you draw a card and then you shuffle in a 10 play point 6/5 version of her, which has Storm and then puts you to 1, but you reduce any damage done to your leader to 0. So it's a little like common finisher, puts your opponent in checkmate if they can't answer it kind of position. So some mulligan decisions you can make with this deck. I'd say keep Pure Hearted Singer. Like she's gonna draw you a couple cards, so nothing wrong with that. I like keeping Phylene a lot. I mean, you just want to see a nice curve. But also Dragon Oracle would be nice too if you're not really getting pressured. Sometimes you just want to fire it off on turn 2. Get you to skip to turn 4. You could play 2/2/2s or something, or you could play like Pure Hearted plus like a 1-drop or something like that. Some situational cards you might want to consider. Something kind of alluded to that in my previous statement. If you have like a Disdain, Servant of Disdain plus like a Disciple of Disdain combo going on in your hand, you might consider keeping it. Effectively, it's like the same thing as a Pure Heart Singer. You draw 2 cards off it immediately, like off of that little combo. Poseidon, you know, it's like feels bad when you accelerate 2 just to play. Like she's one of like your finishers and like really good in the mid to late game. So I'd rather play Poseidon at full value than summon a Poseidon's card. But sometimes you just gotta do it. Depends if you're playing against aggro or not. Of course, I like keeping Zooey turn 1, just like fire off. Like you got nothing else to really do, and you just want to get her going. So some matchups, like honestly, I haven't really played too much in the mini expansion format yet for Omen, but just in the handful of games I've played, of course, like any iteration of ramp, you're extremely vulnerable to aggro decks. So like Feast Bat will just eat you alive. Like it's probably why this deck isn't uh, as popular as it was before. Simply just like the bats will just eat you alive, and you can't really respond to like a huge creature or huge follower out of with storm out of nowhere. And then like the ping damage, all that stuff, just like the weenies attacking you. Yeah, so feast and aggro decks like that will probably eat you alive unless they kind of stumble on their draws a little bit. Pretty reasonable against mid range. You have a lot of answers to their mid to late game threats, so I'd say those matchups are pretty good. One thing I have noticed though, Tempo Forest and Holy Lion are like fairly popular, and I think this deck could really punish them if they're off to slow starts, if they have clunky hands that don't really have their combos assembled. Then you could really capitalize and then get over their game plan with your ramped up cards. And also, yeah, if like Lion doesn't get the temple off, or like if you're the temple off, and if your tempo fairy doesn't drop, or like drops or overcommits like all their fairies and all their common pieces in their hand, and they don't kill you, you can just respond with a Drake. Or if you're managing to like ping off their board or fairies, or like holding off their 2/2s or somehow with removal, like Galmi or something like that. So that's about it about matchups. So as I mentioned, and as you probably noticed, there's no mini expansion cards in this deck. So I've seen a couple variants on Game With, and so some of the cards you could include in this deck. Of course, there's Star Phoenix, like one of those cards that give you like a huge amounts of value, keep you in a game against the faster decks, or decks that commit a lot of like smaller followers to the field. You could keep just ramming like Star Phoenix into those kind of things. Probably keep alive for longer than this version can against those types of decks. Also, a new card, Masamune. Pretty much, I've seen it included in pretty much every Dragoncraft deck except this one. But really, I don't want to craft it yet. I kind of want to see how the meta shapes up, at least like a week and a half ahead of after the drop of the set or the main expansion. But just overall, I think it's gonna be a card I'm gonna have to craft if I'm gonna be continuing playing Dragoncraft. But yeah, Bane, of course, always nice to have. It puts a lot of pressure on and scales well into late game. And of course, the fanfare ability that you want to play the card for is at 10 play points. You give all your Dragoncraft followers rush, and they can't be destroyed basically from like battle damage or whatever, or like effect damage. So yeah, that's one way to like clear the field, plus stick a threat, and then if they don't have it, if they don't have a response, then you just got the game right there. But right now I'm gonna stick to the wait and see kind of game. Also, Pure Voice Dragoon, another nice payoff card. So it's 4 play point 3/4, and if you have Overflow, you can choose either Dragoon's Command, which gives you Wind Blast Dragon and a Dragon for 1 play point into your hand. But if you have Enhanced 10, then you can just straight up just play them on the field. So you get a 5/5 Storm and a 5/5 Vanilla Dragon on the field. Pretty scary. In addition to having a 3/4 on the field, also just keep that in mind. So that's a lot of stats for 10 play points. And then you can also get Dragon's Meditation if you're kind of like dirtling around in the early turns, or if you're like, again, this deck suffers against aggro decks and early aggression. So if you could heal 6, that'll probably give you enough buffer to transition into your late game threats. And finally, there's also good old Canyon of Dragons. One of those classic cards for ramp. If just having a dragon come out at the end of every turn. If your opponent can't keep up with it or can't like banish like they can't seraph the canyon or something, then you're in pretty good shape. Like, can you seraph? Yeah, destroy an enemy follower amulet instead. Yeah, win there. So yeah, that's it for Ram Dragon in the Omen of the 10 mini expansion rotation format. Again, I love playing Zooey, so I just wanted to grind out some games, jam out some games with her. Gal, you know, she cool too. Yeah. So yeah, let me know what you think. Have you been playing Ramp in this format? What do you think? Do you have any suggestions? How's Masamune? I'd love to hear what you think. I'm always looking forward to trying new the newest tech for these types of decks and any decks that I play. And if you have any suggestions, I'd love to hear them. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.